Welcome back to the Out of the Rough podcast presented by We Know Fantasy. As always, my name is Nate with We Know Fantasy, and joining me as always is my co-host Jake. Jake, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. We're doing good. A great US Open down the stretch. I mean, it was definitely a fun Sunday. I don't know if you had a chance to watch, but I was glued to my television with just some bad golf of a battle of who wanted it less, it seemed like. But Bryson pulled it out. Happy for him. I mean, I'm not a big Bryson fan, but I love what he did for the game, and at least he's got some flair to him, unlike Scotty Scheffler. So I was happy to see it. He showed a ton of emotion, which was super cool to see.
Yeah, we talked about it in our Discord, right? It just the game's better when people like Bryson, are winning or in contention because he's either, polarizing figures in all of sports do this, right? They either have the people that are really for him or really against him. There's really no in between, right?
Yep.
So it's good for the game. I mean, he's been playing lights out golf. I mean, could have won the Masters, could have won the PGA, and now, won the U.S. Open. And but you mentioned it was some bad golf down the stretch. He tried to give the tournament away as much as he possibly could. Rory McIlroy did give the tournament away. Just no one else was close enough, right? I mean, the U.S. Open, it played it tough. It was super tough. I mean, bogeys, doubles, triples by everyone. I mean, Scotty Scheffler almost missed the cut. Xander with a triple on the same hole as Scotty, and just some big numbers taking some guys out of it. And kind of just came down to the possibility of Bryson DeChambeau or Rory McIlroy. And like you said, it was who wanted it less, right? But Bryson came out on top, and it was exciting. I do like to see Bryson walking between holes, signing autographs, right?
Yep.
Engaging with the fans, talking to the fans, talking to himself on the cast. I really want to take a driver here. You hear a fan in the back, go for it. And then he talks to the fan essentially through it and ultimately went for an iron and had a fantastic shot. But yeah, just he's done a fantastic job and elevated himself through like social media, becoming a
Yep.
fan favorite. Because I mean, you look back to when he was on the PGA Tour, no one really liked Bryson, right? Just an
Yeah.
arrogant meathead, just he was really unlikable really easily. And now he's kind of, through this past three tournaments I mentioned, making his way to the hearts of golf fans. And I mean, I enjoyed watching him win the US Open and I wasn't mad about it, right? So, yeah, it was that. It was also Father's Day weekend. Finally got a round of golf in. Had one of the best shots of my life. So one of those shots that keeps you coming back, right? You have a horrible
Yep.
round, and then you chip in from 75 yards, like perfect placement on the green, rolls across the green, sinks in the birdie chip for that. It keeps you coming back. So that was a good outing. But yeah, big week this week. Travelers Championship. You'll be there in attendance. I haven't decided yet. I have a wedding on Saturday, so I don't know if I'm going to make the 10-hour round trip to go to the Travelers and try to juggle the wedding at the same time. But we'll see. I did joke in the Discord if Tom Kim is in contention Sunday, I'll be there. I'll figure it out. I'll move some things around to be there. But yeah, before we do move forward, though, and talk about all this golf this week with multiple tournaments, Jake, where can you find it on social media?
Yep. You can find me at DJ Friedman on Twitter. I'll be posting my article after this. So by the time you're listening to this, it'll be up on there. Posting some interesting content. I'm gonna try to post some live content this week since I'll be there on Friday. I'll definitely have a big matchup card going into Friday. So um, be sure to tune into that. You can find all my plays on Twitter or in my article. Also, be sure to join our Discord. 200 members in there now. Continuing to grow. A great community in there. Just everything golf related, outright betting cards, DFS, just general golf too. Like even if you're not into betting in DFS, just general golf knowledge. There's a lot of people in there with a lot of knowledge. So it's a really cool tool to have, completely free to join. You can find the link in the description. If you're listening to this podcast on any of the networks except for YouTube, you got to search a little bit, but you could find the link also in my article as well, or you could DM Nate or myself and we'll happily share that with you.
Yeah, straightforward and to the point. Join our Discord. Like you said, just free play. It's free. It's a great place to be. A lot of tools, a lot of people, a lot of different opinions. It's a great place to be. So make sure you join that. Before you do, follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKF Nate. Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. Be sure to visit WeKnowFantasy.com for some more fantasy sports content, baseball, basketball, football, NASCAR, golf, everything in between. We have you covered. My Out of the Rough golf betting article series on there. The PGA Tour, DP World Tour each and every week, as well as LPGA Majors. That's where they really go in depth each week about the field, the event, the course, break that down, and offer my full betting cards and DFS plays along the way. Fantasy football around the corner that's coming, and on the We Know Fantasy Podcast Network, wherever you listen to your podcasts, listen to the We Know Fantasy NASCAR podcast. Cody and Devin each and every week doing what we do here. Break down the track, the form, what golfers, what drivers are good there, all of that, and give them a full betting card as well. They've hit a bunch of winners along the way, so give them a shout. All right, that's it. We have 3 tournaments this week with the Travelers Championship and the PGA Tour signature event. We have the DP World Tour KLM Dutch Open, and then of course we have the third major of the LPGA season, the KMPG Women's PGA Championship. Before we do hop into things, though, we presented ourselves. We have these questions we want to present to each other before we move forward. So I'll start with mine. At this point, just in a vacuum, where do you rank Bryson DeChambeau in the world of golf?
Like out of current like active players or all
Yeah, like
time?
who's playing right now? If he was on the PGA Tour right now, if every one of them was on the PGA Tour, where are you ranking him? In terms of 1 through whatever.
Current form, probably 2 or 3. It's got to be Scotty, then Bryson or Xander, but in my opinion, probably 2 or 3. Um, but yeah, I mean, what we saw from him, only 2 majors, was just everything is clicking for him. His short game is immaculate. He cranks the ball off the tee and he can hit the iron shots when he needs to. And he just seems to live up to the pressure in a sense. Like the Masters on Sunday, he was a little bit lost, but what we saw this weekend, despite a little bit of a choke down the stretch, couple short missed putts, some pretty bad decisions off the tee. He got some lucky breaks, but I'd argue that his play the first 3 rounds was so competent that he deserved those lucky breaks on Sunday. I just think he's playing some absolutely awesome golf. I don't think he touches Scotty Scheffler,
No.
but I think he's very close with Xander. Personally, I'd probably have him ranked third to Xander as of right now, just because I haven't seen him at other tournaments, but he's playing awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I think it's number 3, right? Again, Scotty, Xander, then Bryson. At this point, Scotty and Xander have separated themselves so much from the rest of what we see in the PGA Tour, and then Bryson right now just in a world of himself on the LIV. I mean, Brooks Koepka has been a non-factor in the 3 majors we've seen. Besides those 2, there really isn't anyone else, right? So 3 would be the right spot for him. I mean, he just won the hardest challenge in golf, the U.S. Open. Yeah, you mentioned it. Lucky breaks down the stretch. Some of those errant drive just being, either for relief or just miraculously found its way between a bunch of wiregrass opposed to behind a bush or something. But like you said, he played stellar for 3 weeks or 3 rounds, and then on top of that, I mean, he won. He played extremely well the PGA as well, and the Masters. I mean, he didn't do too bad there as well. So some great golf. I mean, again, I don't watch much of the LIV. I don't know how he's performing on the LIV. I know he won recently on the LIV, I believe, or has been around the winner. I think with Brooks who won recently. But yeah, I think it's number 3, and I guess we'll see what happens at the Open for the final major of the season about in a month's time. But you also had a question that you want to present here, Jake.
Yeah, so with how Rory, kind of punted it away on Sunday, who do you think is in a worse mental state right now, Sebastian Soderberg or Rory McIlroy? And I guess more particular to Rory, how do you think he bounces back from this? Because that's the closest he's come in a really long time to winning a major. He had a 2-stroke lead on the back 9 at one point, and he could have gone 2 over par over the last like 7 holes or whatever it was and still won. And he just made some horrible decisions. And then obviously the 2 sore thumbs was him missing those really short putts. There was like a 4.5 footer, and then the 2.5 footer on 18. I get it was a sliding putt, but I mean, he gave up the hole and he missed from 2.5 feet. That's crazy.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, he missed the fairway pretty poorly on 18 as well to really set it up. But man, he was rough. I mean, by the time like that ball of Bryson's hit the cup, Rory was already turned and walking away, leaving essentially. And then, of course, we found out that he was withdrawn from the Travelers this week and all of that. And he even stated that this is the worst he's felt in 17 years of professional golf. You mentioned it closest since 2018 was his last major. He had it. He had it in the 2-stroke lead on with 7 holes to go in the U.S. Open. I mean, that's pretty good bet there. But yeah, you mentioned it. I think the stat was like 154 straight, putts made within like 3 or 4 feet for Rory, and then he missed 1 or 2 there to really give it away. So it was just bad, right? I mean, everyone faces the same conditions. I mean, as a professional golfer of that nature, you shouldn't be missing 3, 4 footers, no matter the putt, right?
Yeah.
again, I say that as a bystander who misses 3 and 4 foot putts, every time I touch the golf course. But it's just something about the way it happened for Rory. And Sebastian can't be in a good spot either. I mean, 8 stroke lead in his essentially his nation's open,
Yeah.
and and squander that away. And he didn't do so in like a massive meltdown. It was an entire round meltdown, and we just
Yeah.
watched it unravel for 4 hours. I mean, it wasn't like
It was
Rory,
painful.
what, the final hour and a half. We just watched Sebastian do it for 4 straight hours. Um, but Sebastian teed up this week, so
Yeah.
hopefully
Props
puts
to
that
him.
behind him. This isn't the first meltdown he's had. I mean, not to this standard, but he also did it earlier this year. What was it, like India or China? One of those two,
Yep.
maybe Singapore, somewhere around there. But yeah, it's got to be super tough for Rory because he's been chasing that final or the next major, the fifth major for what, since 2018. So we're at year 6 now. He's I think he's seen his chances each and every year slip away, right? I mean, the
Yep.
golfers at getting a younger man's game, essentially, as we say, right? He's getting older. These younger guys are coming out here, catching him in driving distance and everything that he does. So I think that's what really weighed on him, is that this may be his last legitimate chance to win a major.
Right. His skill set is kind of getting watered down because all of this young talent is coming in and they can do the same things that Rory could do, and some people could do it better. In the case of Scotty Scheffler, like back in the day, like obviously I feel like I was too young to remember this. And I didn't wasn't as into watching golf and stuff, but there was a reign of like young Rory taking over the PGA Tour, just dominating fields. And since I've started watching, I don't think I've experienced that. Like I haven't experienced like Rory truly dominating a tournament and just taking it hands down. It's been a lot of grinding for Rory and him not getting it done. And, it's tough to watch because he is a super talented golfer. He's probably second or third best on the tour right now, I would say. Maybe, top 5 for sure. But, this was a tough one. This was a really tough one for him. I don't know how he bounces back. I can't see him doing it at the Open. Like, I think it's too soon. The wound is not going to be healed yet. But, I mean, I hope he gets another one in his career. I don't, I'd be happy for him, but I just don't see it happening this year.
Yeah, we saw a bit of what Rory can do at the Wells Fargo, right? That
Yep.
back nine just really putting it away. And what's it been, 2 or 3 years since he went back to back at the PGA Tour Championship? The final round there and what he was able to do. Just classic Rory stuff. But again, what he's doing, he's made a living of chasing people down, reeling them in, and just blowing them out of the water. And it's just like you said, it's so hard to do that now when you have like the Scotty Schefflers, the Xander Schauffele's of the world. I mean, even this top tier talent that the PGA Tour right now is arguably deeper than it's ever been. I know
Yep.
people talk about how the leaderboards, they get muddied with some no names, but it's just because the tour itself is so full of talent. I mean, we see this
Right.
in every sport. The talent level just arises each and every year with the advancement of technology, access to all this stuff for kids growing up and getting to this point, all that. But right now, the PGA Tour is as best as it's ever been. So like the disparity from the top to the bottom is as close as it's ever been. I don't know. I guess maybe from like number 2 or 3 because Scotty's in a world of his own. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's such
Yeah.
a packed filled tour now with talent that trying to do what Rory made a living out of doing is getting darn near impossible. I mean, he won his 2 of his 4 majors by like 8 to 10 strokes, just like he
Yeah.
said, just
Crushed it.
giving no one else a fighting chance to really do it. So I guess we'll see what happens. We won't see him again to the Scottish Open, he said. So we
Yep.
got a few weeks until then. But yeah, let's move forward to the Travelers Championship. I know you're going this year. You usually go each year. How many years in a row have you gone?
I've gone the last 2 years. It's a great, great course. If you ever have the opportunity to play or see it, it's really, really well designed. I really like just the layout of the course. And if you haven't been to a golf event, you're listening to this podcast, I could not recommend it enough. It's truly like one of the experiences I've had just following a couple of guys that you like, or even just going after the big names or sitting at one hole and just watching everyone come through. It's super cool to watch these guys in action right in front of your eyes because if I could hit a golf ball half as good as these guys, I'd take it in an instant.
Yeah, attending live golf events is so fun because there's so many different ways you can enjoy it. You mentioned there, if you're just a person who likes to sit, hang out, not really be pressured, you find a spot on a hole and you sit there for the day and you can see everyone. Or if you have the excitement and the rush of chasing your favorite golfer around, or following the favorites and the crowds and all that, you can do that as well. Or just meander from hole to hole and just see what happens as you walk by. It's just it's such a fun event, and or such a fun thing to attend. And you mentioned it, the Travelers Championship is the second highest attended golf tournament, to only the WM Phoenix Open. So it's
Yep.
a kind of a bit of a stadium atmosphere. It's what TPC River Highlands has put together there, East Coast version, right? Some partying going on, a lot of people in one place at one time, and just some great golf as well. Signature event to boot. So of course, the big names will be here this week. But yeah, this is the 72nd playing of this event, held annually at TPC River Highlands. Mentioned the second largest crowd on the PGA Tour. This is I think it's a great place on the schedule too, following the
Yep.
U.S. Open, which is such a grind fest, and especially last year at LACC and the corporate feel of that, but this year not so much at Pinehurst, but just the stress and all of that of the U.S. Open. And a lot of tournaments leading up into the U.S. Open are grind fests, struggling getting it, and then we end up here at a course. It's a bit of a birdie fest, right? It's a short course on
Yep.
the PGA Tour. Birdie fest, fun, partying, stadium atmosphere. It's just a great place on the PGA Tour schedule as well. Um, it has been hosted here since 1984. That's TPC River Highlands, and yeah, the fans will play their role in who wins this week. Either getting behind a golfer to propel them or bring them down. Again, signature event, the field. It's what we're used to. We say this every signature event. It's the same, essentially 70 guys, 72 guys, wherever the field is set at, minus this week the only three eligible golfers not teaming up. Of course, Rory McIlroy. We have Nikolai Hogard and Minwoo Lee are the only other ones not in attendance this week. So yeah, I mean that leaves you with the Scotty Schefflers, the Xander Schauffele's, Patrick Cantlays, Ludwig Obergs, the Colin Morikawas. The big names are going to be here this week. Keegan Bradley, of course, defending champion of this event, took down his quote unquote hometown event a season ago in a bit of an emotional victory. Had the fans behind him definitely as the kind of the only New England golfer really on the tour right now. I know he's from like Vermont or something, but again,
Yep.
we can loop all of New England together because it's a small area, right? So he got that victory a year ago, and other former winners of this event this week's field, Xander Schauffele won in 2022, and Harris English in 2021. So TPC River Highlands par 70 at 6,841 yards. It is a unique layout that features just two par fives, so you have to take advantage of the ample par fours this week if you hope to win. Fairways and greens are both bent grass, and the rough is a thick bluegrass. Founded in 1928 as the Milton Country or Golf Club before becoming the Edgewood Country Club in 1934, the PGA took over ownership in the 1980s, and it has been transformed into hosting this event ever since. Um, uh, Further remodelings took place in 1989 by Bobby Wood in consultation with Howard Twitty and Roger Maltby, and that took the name of TPC River Highlands after that renovation. The most recent modifications, though, came in 2016 as the bunkers were restyled throughout the course, which incorporated a new drainage system as well, with new sand to improve playability. The 17th green 2 was rebuilt to increase the number of potential pin placements, and small changes were made to the putting surfaces of holes 10, 13, 15, and 16. Some leveling work was completed on some of the tee boxes as well that year. Blah, blah, blah. We see this essentially every course we get to at this point has been remodeled in some aspect in the last 5 years because of the ever changing game that is golf. But yeah, TPC River Highland is known for its three-hole stretch known as the Golden Triangle, holes 15, 16, and 17. The 15th a drivable par 4. The 15th is or the 15th a 170 plus par 3 over water, and the 17th a 420 yard par 4 with water in play as well. These three holes all combined for great drama and spectacular views coming down the stretch. TPC River Highlands plays as one of the shortest tracks in the PGA Tour. I mentioned that already. The fairways and greens alike historically rank as some of the easiest to hit on the PGA Tour. I mentioned it's a birdie fest, but driving accuracy numbers tend to be about 70%, well over the tour average. But yeah, playoffs are also a bit of a regular here over the last 13 events, 5 have ended in the playoffs, so there's some chances for some great quote unquote walk offs. On the 18th green, most notably, Jordan Spieth did this in 2017 here. But in all, this course is a classic park land setting that does have some man-made water features that come into play on 5 of the holes. So, as a frequent flyer of TPC River Highlands, everything I failed to mention here, Jake.
No, I really think you covered it well. I mean, it's going to be, like you said, a bit of a birdie fest and coming off of last week. I mean, I think the past couple years it's been a high teens to low
Mhm.
20s. I'm kind of expecting it to be in that low to mid 20 mark this year. I think these guys are ready to explode. I mean, if you look at some of the guys, I mean, I have a few people that we'll talk about once we get into the DFS section. These guys are ready to make some putts here, and I think that they might tame it down a little bit with how crazy last week got.
We'll see. We'll see. So every week for the DFS suggestions here, guys, we have 5 monetary categories: the $10,000 plus, the nines, the eights, the sevens, and 1600 and below. Forgot to mention there is going to be a significant chance of rain. I think it's Saturday this week or Friday, one of those days. But our dry week of the season has been past us, the U.S. Open, so we get rain again. But yeah, under our defense suggestions, $10,000 plus. There's only I think 3 or 4 guys now with Rory's withdrawal. Um, yeah, I'll just kick it off here. Xander Schauffele, right? 11-2. I feel like it would have been, you know, again, when it comes to these signature events, it's so hard to take ownership into consideration because the player pool is so low. So
Yep.
my approach this week was to simply just go with my favorite golfers per my model. I didn't really consider ownership because, again, you have 70 golfers to pick from, 69, whatever it is now. So all ownerships are going to be muddied up. So might as well pack your top of your card with your favorite golfers this week, and then find some disparity down in the lower numbers. Why not? So Xander Schauffele 11-2. I mean, I talk about the guy every single week. What's there to talk about? I mean, a bad week last week of the U.S. Open. He finished T12. He is pretty much a top 5 merchant at this point of the season. He's constantly in contention, constantly a top 5 finish, 2 runner ups, a victory. I think he has got like 6 top 5s in the season, something like 12 out of like 15 events. He's in top 10, like just absolutely having a fantastic season. So, I mean, statistically speaking, he is the best golfer on the PGA Tour when it comes to well-roundedness. There isn't a weakness to his game. He putts, he drives the ball straight. He has average driving distance. He's phenomenal with the approach, green regulations, tops on tour and scrambling, bogey avoidance. I mean, there really isn't a weakness to his game. So that's where I'm going with this week. Maybe after a little bit of a quote unquote down week last week, essentially it was that one hole in the first or second day that him and Scotty both blundered that really kind of took him out of it, took his mind out of the U.S. Open. So, yeah, I mean, again, instead of reading stats at you about Xander, which I do every single week, it's just Xander Schauffele 11-2.
Yeah, with how consistent he is and at a no-cut event, I mean, he is going to pour in the birdies this week. I completely agree with you. He's going to get a lot of DFS points. So he's going to headline a bunch of my lineups too. But I'm going to talk about the other guy we talk about every week. I can't let it slide. It's got to be Scotty Scheffler at 12-5. He had his worst finish in 2 years last week. And my God, did that putter looked the
Oh my
worst
God.
it has in so long. This guy could not hit a putt to save his life. He also was struggling with the driver, which we haven't seen from Scotty in as long as I can remember. So I'm willing to throw US Open out. It's a really challenging course. I mean, he just didn't have his game last week, right? But I'm hoping that gives me a little bit of discount on the ownership. Last week, a 50% almost miscut that could have been so huge if you did not play
Yeah.
him. But, this week I'm hoping that he comes in maybe at the 40% mark. Maybe if it starts with a 3, I think you're winning if you put him in your lineup, but he's just playing awesome golf despite last week. And again, I'm going to spare you the reading of his course stats or whatever because he's just incredible, right? He hasn't won at TPC River Highlands, so I'd argue maybe that gives him a little bit of motive to get this one under his belt, but I mean, it's a short course. He's a long hitter, so it might be a little awkward coming off the tee sometimes, but I mean, he's the best approach player on tour and he's incredible around the greens. The putter's been cooperating outside of last week, so I I hope he can get it together this week because I'm going to turn to him in DFS.
Yeah, I was almost one of those guys that didn't have him in DFS, and I would have, ran to the bank if he were to miss the cut at 50% own. I would have propelled up some leaderboards. I mean, it still helps that he barely made the cut and didn't do much noise outside of that. So, I mean, that did help in a great sense. But yeah, that just goes to show DFS is just a different monster in that aspect. But yeah, of course, Scotty Scheffler, Alexander Schauffele, they're just 1 and 2 in the world. They're 1 and 2 the PGA Tour. You just pencil those guys in, and you eat your chalk and you move forward. So
Yep.
we'll do just that. Move on to our $9,000 price range. Jake, who we leading off here?
Yeah, I'm leading off here with Sam Burns, the rock bottom of this price range. I
Like
was
it.
shocked. I think he's playing some awesome golf and it's gone
Is
super under the radar. I mean, just some incredible form. Just to give you some stats on him, he's 27th in strokes gained off the tee, 69th in strokes gained on approach, 84th in strokes gained around the green, and 31st in putting. He's notoriously an incredible putter, and that kind of hasn't really followed him this season per se. I mean, it's starting to get back into order here. He gained over a stroke and a half per round at the US Open last week. So I think his game is really clicking in the right direction. And over his last 3 starts, he's a T10, a T15, and a T9. I think all the signs are pointing to Burns getting that win very, very soon. If not this week, then very soon. I really do think it can come this week at a short golf course that requires some putts to be made. So 9K flat, I think he's a no-brainer. I think he's going to get a decent amount of ownership. I do hope someone at the top of this range, Morikawa, eats up more of that ownership, but I think he's a no-brainer option here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. He was the first guy I missed off here because I have again Colin Morikawa on this list. Same thing about Colin Morikawa. I like to play these golfers that are fresh off like a kind of a disappointing performance after being one of the most tipped guys. Like Colin Morikawa was probably the most tipped guy at the U.S. Open last week,
Yep,
and it wasn't a horrible finish, right? It was a T14th,
T14.
but it
Yeah.
wasn't what people were expecting. People were expecting him to come in here with the form he was in and absolutely win. Top 10, top five, didn't do that. So a lot of people have very short memories, right? They remember what he did last week and they go ahead and pencil him out. And then, that's where we get a discount ownership. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case this week, but again, it's a good thought at least, right? So I do like Colin Morikawa this week, but I absolutely love each and every week Hideki Matsuyama 9-2. Just everything that he does. I know he's the tour's best around the green. His approach plays phenomenal. Off the tee's great. Everything except the putter, right? But again, he doesn't need to come with a putter that's going to, shoot 6, 7, 8 strokes gained on the greens because his iron play is so phenomenal. And when he is on, like he was earlier this season, the Genesis, he doesn't need a putter because he's within 2 foot every single hole. We haven't seen him really get back to those irons since that, Genesis Invitational. Again, that was a special performance, one we won't see in a long time what he was able to do there. But that is what he has in his bag. And any given round, if he can dial in a round like he had at the Genesis, he's going to be contention because he put himself so far ahead of everyone else with the way that he was hitting those balls that close. So again, he had a great performance last week at the U.S. Open. Just a great season altogether. It's the putter really that could take anything out of it. But this isn't an event that you really need to putt lights out either. Again, Birdie Fest, you need to make sure you're making your putts and things. But short positional golf courses, Hideki Matsuyama was a very iron play and a bit of a discount 9-2 in my opinion. Again, Colin Morikawa at the top at 9-8, I do like, but again, the ownership probably likely be high there. So I like Matsuyama and I like Burns too.
Yeah, I would argue that, I mean, outside of Xander and Scotty, we just mentioned the 3 people that are lining up best to win a golf tournament very soon. Between Burns, Matsuyama, and Morikawa, the 3 of them are playing just awesome golf. Hideki's gained with the putter in the last 4 starts, and it's gone up each round over those 4. He's getting there. I mean, I have him on my outright card as a little spoiler, but he's playing some awesome golf, and I love him at 9-2. I think if you skip the 10K range altogether and stack like a Morikawa Matsuyama or
Yeah.
Matsuyama Burns, it's going to be a little chalky, but I don't think it's going to be, a Xander or a Scotty
Yeah.
chalk. I think you can work your way around it and still be unique there.
I do like that as well. But yeah, moving forward to our 8K price range, we have you have your Sahith Gal here, right? I don't know if you're going with him this week, but you get a T2 in 2022,
Broke
kind
my
of
heart.
our
Broke my
introduction a
heart
bit
that
to
tournament.
Figal. I know you mentioned that often there in person. and didn't get that cash. Again, do like him this week, but a guy I like, and I see a lot of people on this week, is Corey Connors at 8-4. He's in some great form as well. He placed T9th here a season ago, and his worst finish in his last 6 events on the PGA Tour has been T26th at the PGA Championship. T9th last week at the US Open, at top 10 in the world's most challenging golf tournament. T20 Memorial, 6 RPC Canadian Open, T13th Wells Fargo, and of course that T26 PGA Championship. So he's playing some phenomenal golf, and what he's doing right now, he is second on tour in strokes gained approach. That's number 2 to Scotty Scheffler. He's 5th in proximate hole from 125 to 175, 6th in green regulation, 8th in tee to green, 26 off the tee. Hit fairways. He's above average in strokes gained putting on bent grass around the greens where it gets a little iffy, but again, that's really close to even. So really well-rounded golfer as well. Scrambling numbers really do scare me. He has a way to compile his mistakes, though. If he does miss, kind of gets in his head and kind of doubles up on those mistakes. But a golf course that some success last year with a top 10, some great form. I think that scrambling number maybe one we can kind of maybe chalk up and throw out the window with the rest of what he's doing with his approach play, his tee to green game, off the tee. Everything is really lining up here for Corey Connors at 8-4.
Yeah, I like that call out. He is a direct sliding scale with his short game. When he is close to even or gaining around the green and with the putter, it's almost an automatic top 10 finish because of how well he hits those irons and hits his driver. So definitely a good call out. I mean, he gained with the putter last week at a tough US Open. So that's something to hang your hat on. He's gained in 2 of his last 3 with the putter and around the green. So if he can kind of match those together, he definitely is live to have a really good finish this week, if not take it down. I mean, that being said, if Scotty Scheffler takes himself out of it. Um, but yeah, I'm actually not going to write up Sahith Theegala. I think he's going to be a little chalky this week,
Yeah.
and I'm not in love with the form that he's in. A T32 at the US Open, he started 7 over through like 5 holes. It looked like it was going to be awful, and he battled back and finished at 7 over. So he battled those last, 40 something holes at even par, which for US Open is solid. So, I mean, maybe it's something I need to give a little bit more thought to, but I'm going with Brian Harman at 8,300.
Yep.
This course history, I think, is going to garner a lot of ownership for him, but I couldn't ignore it. It's absolutely immaculate. Over the past, what is it, 6 years in a row, it's T2, T8, T5, miscut, T8, T6. So 5 top 10 finishes and 1 miscut over the last 5 appearances at TPC River Highland. Thinking about it, Harman wasn't, a top tier golfer outside of last year when he won the Open. So he wasn't having his best golf. And at this course, he found a ton of success. And it's because he's just a really good short game player, I think. And he's a very good positional driver of the golf ball. He's accurate. He puts in the fairway each time. If the irons click, the short game is there to support it. The recent form's been okay, like litterings of, top 20s, top 30s in that range over the last 5 starts. But the course history, if he can kind of get back into his home feels there and pair up that course history with how we know he could play, I think he's a great option in DFS.
Yeah, he's on, spoiler alert, as you say, he's on my outright card, 55-1. Thought that number was too good to ignore. You mentioned the course history here, just probably the best in this field, right? It's also a tournament that hasn't been played by a lot of these top guys, consecutively either, because following US Opens and things like that. But last year, of course, elevated status, now signature event status, brought these guys in here. But Brian Harman has played this tournament year in and year out with the littering of top 5s, littering of top 10s, some great course history form, excuse me, not the best recently, but what was it, 6 straight miss or mid cuts, 3 top 25s in there. And we know what he does. He scrambles very well. He's an okay approach player, fantastic around the green, drives the ball straight and accurate, and can really pick where he places the ball. I mean, that's how he took apart the US or the Open last year, was really just ball placement off the tee, good chips on, and then competent putter as he brings, and that's really what propelled him there. So I think that's a good way to attack this golf course, and it's working out for Brian Harman because of what he's done in years past here. So I absolutely love that call out. Again, ownership may be a little higher because of that course history, but only time will tell. So let's roll directly here into the $7,000 price range. Who are you leading off here with?
Sorry, I'm on mute. I'm really torn between 2 guys here, and I think I'm going to go with the lower price guy here. I think he is going to get an okay amount of ownership, but still enough to play. It's going to be Akshay Bhatia at 7,200. Probably doesn't come as a surprise if you've listened to this podcast before, but again, pretty under the radar, has gotten his form back and playing some awesome golf over the last 2 weeks at some really hard golf courses. US Open, he finished T16, the Memorial, T22. Ball striking the crap out of the ball. The driver has been awesome. The short game last week was incredible. And that is not to go lightly spoken. Akshay's been an awful putter and around the green throughout his career. He found something that clicked last week to get him a T16 finish. It was actually the irons that let him down a little bit. I think, and we've seen Akshay, he's won recently at the Valero Texas Open not too long ago. If he has a spike iron week and can carry that putter with him and just carry a little bit of heat, I'm not saying, he needs to gain 2 strokes with the putter. If he can just gain like half a stroke per round and bring those irons with him, he is a world-class golfer, and he's shown that he could win on the PGA Tour this season, which not a lot of people can say given Scotty Scheffler's reign of terror. But I really like Akshay here from a DFS perspective. 7,200 feels cheap. You could pair him up with a Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Collin Morikawa to, have a top 10, top 15, top 20 finish here would be really good at that price.
Yeah, that's a great value at 7-2, a guy who's won the tour recently, and a guy that can really light up golf courses when things are right. Like you mentioned there, typically a world-class iron player, really been letting him down a bit, especially over the kind of a slow stretch since his victory at the Valero. That we mentioned, kind of finding some form back there, and that putter that he's found this season, that really what was kept him down for the first 3-4 years he was on the PGA Tour, right? He's been one of those wonder kids, been around for a very long time, for what seems like a long time, not really that long, but it's been the putter, and he's finally figured that out. So he comes this week with those irons, with that strong putter, everything else he does. I think it's going to be a great week for Akshay. I wrote up Siwoo Kim as I do every week because he's a made cut merchant. I'm gonna go with your coined Hollywood Tom Hoge, 7,000 right on the number. I mean, if you're looking for course form, I mean, there's not much there. Maybe a few made cuts over his span here, but beyond that, nothing to write home about. But again, what Tom Hoge does, he's a world class approach player, world class iron player. He's also very good at getting birdies. He's sixth on tour in birdie or better percentage. He's also seventh in approach from approximately the hole from 125 to 175, 11th in scrambling, 20th in par four. And really, off the tee, doesn't really get after it. He does have some great accuracy. It's the distance that keeps him out of it. But again, we don't really need that this week. And he isn't the best at putting. 132nd on tour, starts getting putting bent grass. Again, has ability to spike. What was it? The PJ Championship, he gained 2.809 on the greens, but it's around the green work really that keeps Tom Hoge out of events. You think someone who is as talented with the irons and the approach, in his hands, can be competent around the green, but no, you switch, his 5 iron for a sand wedge, and the guy absolutely loses it. Some things don't add up correctly, right? But that's Tom Hoge. We see it often the PGA Tour, just that touch and feel that you need around the greens. He just doesn't have it, especially right now. But again, $7,000 price range. You're getting a world class ball striker, a guy who can spike with his putters, who scrambles relatively well, gets the ball, down the fairway with accuracy. What else could you really ask for?
Yeah, he reminds me of like a Keegan Bradley. I mean, Keegan won here last year, a guy who could struggle with the putter, but can get just so dialed with the irons that you don't need to putt. You don't need the around the green because, like we say with Hideki, when you stick it to 5 feet or less on every single hole, you don't need to be able to make putts and gain that much on the field. You just have to convert your opportunities. And Hoagie is one of those guys we'll know pretty early if those irons are dialed this week. I mean, watch out because we've seen it happen before. He sticks it to 2, 3 feet every time, and he just climbs up the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's been a while, 2 years ago at the AT&T Beach since he won, but
Yep.
we'll see what happens. So, final price range this week, the 6,900 and below. I'm going to lead things off here. I have Lucas Glover right up. I'm going to go with Chris Kirk at 6'9". Kind of what a fall. He started the season
Yeah.
with a victory at the Century and just really has been pretty bad since. Again, T26 at the U.S. Open, not great, but I mean, it's still almost a top 25 at, the world's hardest challenge in the world of golf. But he did also place T10th at the RPC Heritage, T16th at the Masters recently. So yeah, there's some good forms, some good golf tournaments, some great golf tournaments nonetheless there. But he hasn't played here since 2021, so really not much of a course history. But what he does, what Kirk does, is he has the same ability like Tom Hoagie, right? He has that
Yep.
ability to show up to a golf tournament, dial in his irons, and put the ball within feet of the hole each and every time. Um, Ninth on tour, approximate hole for 125 to 175, 20th in par fours, 24th tee to green and birdie or better, 32nd off the tee. He's accurate with the ball, around the green, competent, good approach play. Not that bad of a putter. Scrambling's okay. Really everything checks out for Chris Kirk. It's just everything hasn't been the same place at one time since his victory to start the season. But again, if he can get those irons going and get things to go in his favor, not looking for the guy to win here at 6'9", right? We're looking for the guy to top 25, top 20, get those birdie runs going, get some extra birdie points for you. I think Chris Kirk has the ability to put a stretch of holes together, maybe it'd be a 10, 9, 8, 7 stretch of holes, but you put a few birdies in that stretch there, get those extra bonus points, and I go a long way this week with some of the ownership numbers we'll see.
Yeah, I like the call out, and I do think he like if he's in contention on Sunday, he's not one of those guys that I'm like, oh, he's gonna choke it away, whatever. Like he's
Oh
a
yeah.
PGA Tour winner. He won this year, and if those irons are dialed, like you said, similar to how I spoke about Akshay, like last week the irons weren't there, and that's something he's pretty known for. So the putter was immaculate last week for Kirk. He gained about a stroke and a half per round. He was absolutely nuclear, which over his last 5 starts has been absolutely missing from him. So if he can keep that putter form, get those irons going, like you said, I mean, I think he's live to have a really good week this week. But I'm going pretty low in this range here. I brought him up in our Discord a little earlier. I have an outright on him. It's Adam Svensson at 6,400. I mean, what is there to say? He's made the cut in his last 10 starts, which is great. His best finish is a T24. Why am I hanging my hat on Svensson? It's a 70-man field or whatever. And really the only thing that is lacking in Svensson's game is the putter. Everything else usually comes there for him. He's a very positional golfer. So off the tee, extremely accurate. The approach numbers follow him each and every week. He's a great iron player. The around the green is even solid. It's really the putter that lets him down every single week. So I'm hoping that those irons get dialed in early. He doesn't need to make a ton of putts, but converts those opportunities. Yeah, the outright might be a stupid play, but at 200 to 1, I figured I'd use the $10 free bet on him. But from a DFS perspective, there's no cut, so there's that. And also, the irons are just immaculate. So if he puts it close to the hole, I expect him to get a ton of birdies and to help your lineup with some scoring there.
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, in such a limited field, there isn't a bad play in DFS this week, right? They're all
Yep.
essentially the top 70 guys on the PGA Tour at this point, right? So there really isn't a bad play anywhere on DFS. It's just finding which six, fits best, right? So yeah, again, the putter's been pretty bad, right? Yeah, I guess you can say that. But again, same with typical Canadian golf. It's just strong approach players who are accurate with the ball and just lack a putter. So we'll see what he brings this week. And as you said, if he's a guy that brings a putter, he's way down there, and you have him in your lineup. You play the top heavy with a Xander or Scotty to fit him in there. Goes a long way for you, and especially with some lineup disparity there as well. So all right, that's it for DFS plays this week. We'll move on to our betting card. Each week we have 3 categories to talk about. We have our overall favorite, self-explanatory, and place one bet this week. Who would it be and why? Personal favorite, maybe someone we're on the community's out on. Personal favorite golfer, maybe a favorite value play, and of course, long shot, self-explanatory, longest odds are on. So, Jay, kick us off here. You have one bet to make this week. Who is it and why? You're back on mute, Jake.
Sorry, the New York City traffic, I try to mute out. But yeah, Hideki Matsuyama, I got him at 32.5 to 1. That hung early on Thursday, and that's blundered down, especially with Rory out. But we spoke about him already. Just kind of feels like he's teeing himself up for a win. Those irons could get absolutely dialed, and he's proven that he could do it. And I'm not scared if he's going toe to toe with Scotty on a Sunday. I think he could take him down.
Yeah, I have it played there at 33 to 1. Again, got that in before Roy's withdrawal. He's probably down to what, 20 some at this point.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it. I mean, we talk about guys who can take down Scotty Scheffler. There's such a small collection of them. There's probably what, 4 or 5. We did this on a podcast, and Hideki's one of them. If he's
Yep.
there on a Sunday and has his irons, he can beat Scotty Scheffler. He can go to toe with Scotty Scheffler and take down the victory. So love that play. I thought, I mean, 33-1 was a fantastic value, 32 and a
Yeah,
half to 1.
crazy.
I mean, insane value in a field of 70 golfers as well. So just to be different and not go with Hideki for my pick as well, I guess I'll go Ludwig Aberg. 16-1's where I found him. He's down to like 14 or 12 since Rory withdrew. Again, fantastic 36 holes for him at the U.S. Open. Leader there, first U.S. Open, and he kind of squandered it away. It happens. The kid's 24 years old, playing in his first pretty much full season on the PGA Tour, third major of his life, leading after 36 holes in the U.S. Open. He's just a baller, right? What else is there to say about it? He does everything extremely well. I wouldn't say I was a hater. I was a doubter, I guess, because his hype was so much when he came out. It was so hard to get back behind him. I mean, when it's like third tournament on tour, he was open at like 20-1, 18-1. It was just so hard to get behind numbers like that because the fanfare behind him. But now he's kind of leveled out where, he warrants at 18-1. He warrants at 20-1. He warrants at 16-1. Last week in the U.S. Open, I played him 22-1. I felt pretty good about that. And of course, there's a whole leader and then kind of blew it away. But yeah, pressure's off of him. I think he's a guy that get the fans behind him at an event like this, can really get going with it. I mean, he can pour him in with the best of them. Again, I'm not sure if he's there yet to go toe-to-toe with Scotty Scheffler, but I mean, in a vacuum with the talent, he can, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just, if the mentality, the mindset can really keep pace with it there as well. So I'll lean that way. Personal favorite bet this week, Jake, I'm going to lean Brian Harman, 55-1. We talked about it, the course form, the history, everything here. Again, recent form isn't the best. Stats really don't line up this season, but again, this is a course that he's played extremely well at for a very long time. 55-1 was a big number, 70-man field, so that's why I went with that.
Yeah, I'm going with Sam Burns. I used a boost on him, so I got him close to 65-1, but I think he's at 30 right now.
Yep.
Again, I mentioned in the 9K range, I think he's just teed up to win, similar to Hideki, just playing some awesome golf. And I mean, obviously with the boost, it's incredible, but I think that 30-1 is still a very fair number on. It feels like Sam Burns wins one tournament a year and then he kind of just dissipates away, and it feels like it's coming soon. I think it's going to be this week.
Yeah, Sam Burns is the first guy off my card, right? He opened at 33-1 along Hideki, so I opted for Hideki there, and Sam Burns is the first guy off. So I love that play as well. And then Jake, long shot this week, longest odds you're on. I'm assuming it's Svensson.
Yep. We just mentioned him, Adam Svensson, 200-1. I used a free play on it, but I mean, if you want to take a shot in the dark with me, feel free. I'm happy to open up the Svensson train to anyone who wants to hop on. If he catches any glimpse of hope with the putter, I expect him to be in contention and possibly win this tournament. At 200-1 in a 70-man field, you just need a few people to get out of your way, and it could happen. So why not?
That's the thing. I mentioned it. If you're in this field, you're a quality golfer, top 70 guy essentially in the world, or at least the PGA Tour. So 200-1 with 70 guys in the field, not a bad shout for a couple bucks. Like you said, $10 is going to win you $2,000. So I can get behind that with you. But my longest odds this week is just Shane Lowry at 75-1. Nothing super exciting out of Shane Wright, but again, he has the ability to hit the ball extremely straight, has some good iron play around the greens usually there. The putter really is, what kind of lets him down. This year isn't, Stokes putting on bent grass. He's actually quality top 75 in that. It's really the scrambling and the around the green that's really getting him down this week. Bogey avoidance again. He likes to compile his mistakes and take himself that way. But we saw what he did PGA Championship, right? He saw 62 on Saturday to put himself in contention. If he come out with a week like that or a round like that, fire himself in contention. Again, a 75-1, a big number in a small field for a guy who has won a major before. Why not?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Anything else about the Travelers Championship, Jake? What hole are you going to be posted up on signing autographs?
Yeah. If anyone is going to the tournament on Friday, shoot me a DM on Twitter or get in contact with me in any way you can. I'd love to meet up with anyone who's there. Happy to just talk golf, and maybe if you bump into me, I might do a little giveaway and take you to the pro shop. So be sure to hit me up if you see me or if you're going on Friday.
Yeah, if I do end up there myself, it won't be Friday just because I have a wedding on Saturday. If I do end up there myself, it'll be Thursday. Like I said, I haven't fully committed to it. Maybe I'll wake up super early Thursday, get giddy with it and hop in the truck and drive that way. So we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, another great event on the PGA Tour schedule. So hope to see some of you guys there. But we still have a lot of golf to talk about yet on this podcast, Jake. And we spent a lot of time talking about the Travelers. So we have the KLM Dutch Open this week of the DP World Tour, a few weeks off before they return here. Open season's here for the DP World Tour, right? Guys are scrambling on the DP World Tour to find their spot in the Open Championship, and the KLM Dutch Open kind of opens that final stretch and the ability to do so. An event that's been around since 1912, known as the Dutch Open, of course. Joined the European Tour / DP World Tour schedule in 1972. As many as 13 different golf courses has hosted this event, and for the first time since 2019, and the only time since 2019 that or 2019 was the only time the International in Amsterdam has hosted this event. Last year at the Bernados Golf in Kromvoort, something like that. Either way, KLM Dutch Airlines, the sponsor of this week's event, has been one of the tour's most loyal supporters, serving as the title sponsor for 28 years. Again, typical field we see on the DP World Tour. We have some interesting names. We have Matt Wallace and Luke List, PGA Tour regulars, making their way over to the Netherlands this week. I saw the KLM Dutch Open chairman made a statement. He was like, we are lucky to have someone like Luke List, a top player in the world, come join us this week. And I'm like, all right, I guess whatever floats your boat, right? But he's still a top 100 guy in the world, making an appearance this week. So good for him. Home favorites Josh Luton and Darius Van Drill look to lead a strong Dutch contingent, looking to claim victory in home soil. Again, we mentioned it, Sebastian Soderberg, first time teamed up since his historic 8-stroke collapse at the Scandinavian Mixed. Other notable names teamed up this week include Laurie Cantor, Rasmus Højgaard, Tom McKibben, Bernd Weisberger, Richard Mansell, Nicholas Norgard, and Alex Fitzpatrick. Pablo Larrazbal comes in as defending champion, took down fellow countryman Adrian Otagwe a year ago to claim victory. So the International Amsterdam will play host this week, par 70 at 6,915 yards. Promises to test every aspect of a golfer's game. Designed by Ian Woosman and opened in I'm so used to saying that. In 2012, it's a new course. Sits near the Schiphol Airport, and some may argue maybe too close to the airport. So golfers will have to not only deal with the challenging course, but the noise of in and outgoing airplanes as well. I mean, I guess it's fitting for KLM as their sponsors. KLM is the international, or the main whatever aero. What am I trying to say here? The KLM
airline.
Here's an airline. That's the word I was looking for. Airline of the Netherlands. But 2014, the International hosted a tournament on the European Senior Tour and hosted this event in 2019. Features plenty of water hazards and bunkers to test golfers off the tee. Water comes into play on 10 holes, and much of the sand comes green side. It too features several dog legs and a number of blind shots. And what's cool about this course is many of the holes are bordered by a plethora of mounds, so it adds a sense of seclusion from the rest of the course, each and every hole. And in the same sense, it kind of plays to a links feel because of that, because of the the mounds and all of that. So desert play, links play can be strongly correlated to this event, this course. Greens this week are both large, fast, and very contoured. Greens, due to the size, offer a large selection of potential pin placements throughout the week. The 11th hole was a very easy par 4 in the last outing here in 2019, but has since been converted to a par 3. So in all, the golfers will have all the aspects of their games tested this week and have to deal with the noise of the nearby airport. Jake, anything about this event you want to mention before we move forward? I mean, course, or event, or field, whatever you want to do.
I think it's wild that Luke List is playing here, so that's my note on the field. But besides that, I really think that this is an irons place. Like, if you could flush your irons, you could be really, really successful here. The rest of the game, not as important.
Yeah, I really think that. I don't think a strong putter really is necessary. Off the tee, it's going to help them be more accurate than long. And then, iron play is going to be the key factor this week. Tee to green, iron play. I'm right there with you. It feels like like Luke List is like you're going to your local small town casinos concert, and they're like, we have some mid-tier singer coming in town. Everyone's so hype about it. I feel like that's how they feel about Luke List this week as their headlining name. But I guess we'll see what comes of Luke List making his way to the Netherlands this week. So Jake, I have a card of 4 people this week here. How many do you have?
I've got 2. I've got 2 bullets in the chamber, both at the top of the board.
All right. Well, I'll kick it off here with Bernd Weisberger, 20-1. Was on him. What was it? The European Open? I think European Open where he finished T2. Yeah, European Open. Yeah, just a strong, well-rounded golfer, 8-time winner on the DP World Tour, veteran. And of course, he left for the Live Tour and then got kicked off the Live Tour because he was really bad. Um, but has since found some form back on the DP World Tour. Placed top 25 in 3 straight events coming to this week. Currently first on tour in tee to green and scrambling, second in green regulations, fifth in approach, 39th in birdie or better, 52nd off the tee. The putter can be hit or miss, but hey, he gained 0.23 strokes at the European Open in his T2 there. So why not? 20-1 feels like a decent number for someone in some good form and who has been an 8-time winner on this tour.
Yep, that was one of my bullets. You took it from me, but I mean, just playing some awesome golf, and we mentioned it. I knew that we were going to align on him when we said flushing the golf ball and tee to green are important because he's probably the best in this field at both of those things, I would argue. So, and also just playing some awesome golf. So I think he's similar to the reasons why I bet Hideki and Burns on the PGA Tour. I'm going with Wiesberger here because I think he gets the job done. He's been teetering that win, and I think it comes this week.
There we go. So my next guy is Frederic Lacroix, 50-1. If you followed me at all this season, you know I like this guy from France. Was on him earlier this season, had some fantastic finishes over in the desert, which, desert's kind of a link style that correlates kind of this course because of the way that you attack them. But yeah, I mean T4th in Bahrain, third at the Ras Al Khaimah. Recently, not the greatest, but he has made 3 cuts over this week, including a T13th, the Volvo China Open. 6 on tour, tee to green. There you go. 14th driving accuracy in green regulations, 19th scrambling, 21st birdie or better, 25th approach. Like Weisberger, kind of a similar build to him, just not as good at it as Weisberger. But yeah, just the putter again, hit or miss. We'll see what brings to this week. But I like the form he had in the desert. Hopefully, it correlates this week.
Yeah, no, can't fault you for that. He's awesome off the tee. He's one of those guys who's very, very stable off the tee. The approach play's kind of gotten away from him, but he can spike with those irons. So, like you said, he's the Walmart version of Wiesberger, and I'm not sure what odds you got him at, but I'm sure it's better than Wiesberger, so it's worth a
50 to
shot.
1.
Yeah, so at 2.5 times the price, I mean, for sure worth a shot on the DP World Tour, where we saw Soderberg punt away an 8-stroke lead. So really, when we say anything can happen, we say this every week. We really mean anything can happen.
Hey, Nacho Aguirre won a tournament recently, so that goes to show what can happen here.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, so I'll just roll my next one before since I have 2 more. Paul Waring, 50-1. Same aspect here. 54-hole leader at the Volvo China Open. Didn't finish that, but followed it up with a T10 at Sedua Open. What is he? I think he finished T2 or T3 at the Volvo China Open. Missed the Cup European Open, but bounced back with T33 at the Volvo Car Scandinavian Mixed. Currently 7th in tour and scrambling, 22nd birdie or better, 26th approach and tee to green, so top 26 there in those 2 stats we like. 28th green regulation, 34th off the tee, 46th putting, 56th driving accuracy. So he's just really well rounded. There really isn't a glaring weakness to his game. He doesn't do something like extremely well to really propel him. That'd be a big difference if he was like a top 10 approach player with the well roundedness. We'd see a lot more of Paul Waring. But again, 50-1 at the DP World Tour. There's a reason he's at that number. Yeah, I think this is a great fit for him this week. And again, a guy I've been on recently. I really wish he would have finished at the China Open, as I was the only guy on the golf pick trackers list to have him. So it's been a cool one to have. But either way, we're here with him 51 again this week.
Yeah, can't blame you for that. And if anything seems to go haywire this week, if weather becomes inclement or anything like that, you want the safety blanket of a guy who's super well rounded, and I think Warren provides that. So I think that's a really good add to the card.
There we go. So who's your final guy here?
Yeah, I'm going all the way to the top of the board here. I'm going Matt Wallace at 14-1. He was my first pick this week, a PGA Tour staple, and he was playing some really good golf on the
Yes, man.
PGA Tour. So coming over the DP World Tour, I, I mean, I really respect these guys out here, but it is a step down from the PGA Tour. Playing, top 20s, top 30s on the PGA Tour should relate to some really, really good finishes on the DP World Tour. And like you mentioned in your course description, it does have a bit of a link style feel to it where Wallace is really comfortable and plays some of his best golf. An absolute beast with the irons can get really, really dialed with those. So, not necessarily the most accurate driver of the golf ball, even though the last 2 times he's teed it up, he's actually gained in accuracy to the field. If he can kind of bring along the putter and the short game that he has, I mean, I think the 14-1 is just about the edge of where I would get it. If you get a 12, I probably wouldn't endorse it. It's just a little too low for me. but 14 and up I think was a fair number. And just going with two players this week, 14 and 18 for me, I could squeeze that on my card and make it work.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Wallace hands down the best in a vacuum golfer in this entire field, right?
Yep.
It's a bit of a difference to come from the United States over here to play, but we'll see what happens with it. But again, 14-1 isn't, typically if we saw someone of Matt Wallace's ability coming over, he'd be 10-1, 12-1 in a field like this. And yeah, I mean, he was a first round leader recently on the PGA Tour. Or was the Valero? I don't think it was the Valero. It was the either way. He is playing some great golf, is what I was getting at. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
his course history, not necessarily course history, but tournament history is immaculate. A T5, a third place when the tournament was played here, then a T9. So it might just be something about this tournament, but even at this course with a solo third place finish and the form he's in, I couldn't get away from him.
easy enough. All right, firing my last one off here. I'm gonna go to the Joel Gerback wagon. I haven't been on here before, so hope you guys welcome me aboard. But 150-1 for a irrelevant name in this field was one I couldn't ignore. You get what you pay for, right? 150-1. There isn't going to be a super polished item for you to take up. It's going to be, it's going to be tattered. It's going to be scratched. It's going to be broken a little bit, but there are going to be some bright spots. I mean, T3rd at the Volvo China Open. Prior to that, T18, the ISBS Honda. T13, Hero Indian Open. Some good finishes there. I know he's missed back-to-back cuts coming to this week, but again, 150-1, there's a reason he's here. If we look back at the desert form, T20 for the Ras Al Khaimah, T8 for the Bahrain, some good performances there as well. He's very good at driving the ball accurate. He's third on tour in doing so. T15th or 15th in approach, 29th in green regulation, and tee to green. So a guy at 150-1, you have a top 30 in tee to green, top 30 in green regulation, top 15 in approach, and the third most accurate driver of the ball. I mean, even beyond that, we're talking 47th off the tee, 96th in scrambling, 102nd in stroke game putting. The stats line up very well for someone at 150-1 in this field. So, I mean, it was kind of more so at a name value with a combination of some quality stats more than any kind of form here. So that's why I did that here on Joel Gerback.
Yeah, I think I might add him with you. Just looking at his stats, even over the two miscuts recently, like probably the most accurate driver, or if not a top five accuracy driver on the DP World Tour. And over those two missed cuts, he still managed to gain with the irons. At the Sudal Open, he gained about a stroke per round with the irons and still missed the cut because the putter was so bad. So, I mean, the ball striking's there and the accuracy off the tee is there. So it could be a recipe to get that bit of form back that he had leading into the Sudal Open and the European Open. And, 150-1, he has definitely a chance to win.
There we go. All right. Anything else about the VP World Tour side of things, Jake?
Nope.
All right, one more event to talk about, the KMPG Women's PGA Championship. A lot of letters there coming at you fast and furious. But third major of the LPGA season, some more abbreviations, some more letters. Yeah, second longest standing event on the LPGA schedule to only the U.S. Women's Open that we saw roughly a month ago. First stage in 1955 yeah, it is. So not only is this a chance to, of course, win a major on the LPGA, claim a $1.5 million check, but it also serves as the final opportunity for Olympic qualifications. So
Yep.
a lot of these girls are playing for more than a major or more, only one person can win this, right? So they're playing for the right to represent the country in the upcoming Olympic Games later this summer in France. So a lot to play for this week outside of just a win. So yeah, that'll get some of these women fired up. So 156 is the number in the field of the world's best women golfers. Among them, of course, we have our Scotty Scheffler equivalent, better than Scotty Scheffler, Nelly Korda, world number one, six-time winner on tour. I think she won like 5 events in a row, including the first major, the Chevron Championship. Had a bit of a blunder at the U.S. Women's Open. She had a 10 on a par 3. I mean, the Lancaster Country Club just ate everyone alive. I mean, we're seeing like plus 26s at the major out of some of these women. But yeah, she got put a blunder there, and then she came back, I think, last week for the major, and Meyer, whatever, didn't do well there either. But again, at some point they're going to take a step back. They're going to regain themselves. I'm talking of someone of Korda and Scotty Scheffler's abilities, and they're going to be back, probably this week to win both of them, right? Also, Yuka Sasso will be back in action after claiming the U.S. Women's Open in Lancaster. She was also the runner-up last year at this event to China's Rungyang Yin, who won this event with a dramatic birdie putt on the 18th hole to edge Sasso. To claim the PGA Championship was a fun event and fun finishing down the stretch there. Lilia Vu is back in action. She missed about a part of 3 months due to injury between March and June, but she returned last week, and what she did in return was she won. She came back from a 3 week or 3 month hiatus and just won the Mayor LPGA Classic. So I don't think there's any rust or hindrance to her form. She is back in action and already winning. Other notable names include Ethel Thickpool, Aya Fiore, or Yaka Fiore, Brooke Henderson, Jin Young Ko, Rose Zhang, and Hannah Green. Other former winners of this event in this week's field include Korda 21, Si Young Kim 20, Green 2019, Danielle Kang 2017, Henderson 2016. The last time of this event was held at this golf course as well was 2016 when Brooke Henderson won her maiden LPGA major. Yanni Sang 2008 and 2011, Christy Kerr 2010, and Anna Nordqvist in 2009. So we're here at the Sahali Country Club in Washington. It is no stranger to hosting PGA Championship. It's hosted now the men's and the women. The men's was hosted in 1998 and saw Vijay Singh win his first major. He edged Steve Strickler by 2 strokes here in 1998. It is also, like I mentioned, 2016 hosted the women's version of this event, where Brooke Henderson of Canada won her first major victory. Designed by Ted Robinson in 1969, was remodeled by Reese Jones in 1997 prior to the playing of the 1998 PGA Championship. It's been a staple in Golf Digest's top 100 courses for more than 20 straight years, par 72 at 7,007 yards. It may be best known for its narrow tree-lined fairways that will take an accurate approach off the tee to attack. The line of defenses don't stop there, and they're essentially endless at this course as hazards are littered throughout. Yeah, so really looking for strong tee to green, strong iron play, and of course an accurate approach with everything else you need with the scoring averages, putting, everything you need from a major. It's hard to produce stat-based models for the LPGA because stats are so limited. You only have a handful of stats to pick and choose from, so it's how you weigh them that really gets you some results. But yeah, anything I forgot to mention about this event here, Jake?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't done any research on this, so I'm looking for you to guide me. I'm probably going to tell most of your plays here, so let's hear it, Nate.
Uh-oh. All right. So I have 4 on me. So I guess I'll just rattle them off here. We'll see if you have any input about these, Jake. So we have Yaka Fiore, 18-1. It's easy to be overshadowed this season because of what Cord has been doing, but Fiore has been one of the best golfers in not only the LPGA but the entire world as of late. So leading up to this event, she has 4 straight top 8 finishes. She placed T8th at last week's major LPGA Classic, T2nd at the ShopRite LPGA Classic, T6th at the U.S. Women's Open, and T7th at the Mizzou Americas Open. So in total, through 14 events she's played this season, she has placed top 25 in 12 of them, top 10 in 8, and top 5 in 4 of them. So to my I guess correlation, I'm gonna relate her to like the Xander Schauffele of
Yep.
the PGA Tour. You have your Nelly Korda, who is your Scotty Scheffler. Then you have your Yaka Fiore, who is your Xander Schauffele. Currently third on tour in scoring average, fourth in driving accuracy, 16th in grand regulation, 17th in putting average, 19th in par fives, 72nd in sand saves, 111th or 117th in average driving distance. That's my favorite this week. I'm going to follow her up with Lilia Vu at 22-1. Again, she's been out for 3 months, came back after being out for 3 months and winning. That's not easy to do, right? Not only for having your body hold up for 4 rounds of golf, but mentally being able to check yourself back into win a golf tournament. Fantastic. So I had to put her on my card this week. Outside of that, she missed the first 2 majors of the season because of those injuries at the Chevron and the U.S. Women's Open. But she's also a 2-time major winner herself in her career. So she's been here, done that. Currently, what is she? 4th on tour in sand saves, 5th in scoring average, 10th in regulation, 17th in accuracy, 30th in putting, and 56th in par fives, 91st in driving accurate or driving distance. Yeah, this course does take a bit of accuracy off the tee, nonetheless. But I did incorporate a bit of distance just because we have the ability. I don't have strokes game data for the LPGA at my fingertips, right? So got to get a little creative with it. So kind of made my own strokes game off the tee in a sense, with favor and accuracy nonetheless. But moving on to our middle value ranges here, we have Jenny Shin at 50 to 1. She's fresh off a T9th at the ShopRite LPGA Classic 2 weeks ago. She also placed T19th at the U.S. Women's Open through 11 events she's played this season. She has 6 top 25s and 2 top 10s. Shin's currently 10th on tour in par 5s, 21st screen regulation, 23rd in scoring average, 24th in accuracy, 34th in sand saves, and 74th in putting accuracy. And then my long shot, quote unquote, this week is Marina Alex at 66 to 1. She is very, very accurate. I'm trying to find the stat. She is second on tour in driving accuracy, but with that, she is super short off the tee as well. So, hoping that the ability to be more accurate than anyone in this field. She's also on top of that 13th in sand saves, 18th in graded regulation, 19th in scoring average, 23rd in par 5. So she's still scoring relatively well despite being, even on these par 5s, being short. So hoping that the elite accuracy outweighs a bit of lack of distance this week at this golf course. But again, 66 to 1 in this field, you're not going to find a super polished, I talk about this in every field, right? She also placed T25 at last week's Meyer LPGA Classic, part of that T6 at the ShopRite, T7 at Mizzou America's Open, and T25 at the Cognizant Founders Cup. But again, guys, the women's game is a great place if you're looking for some very talented, crisp golf swings. Just a fantastic event, nonetheless. It's a great thing to tune into. I mean, we have 3 events this week, so the chances are Thursday through Sunday, if you turn on the golf channel, there's going to be golf from the second you wake up to the second you go to bed. Especially with the women's being on the West Coast, you have the men on the East Coast, and you have the DP World Tour in the Netherlands. So we're talking like a 4 a.m. start to a 12 or 11 p.m. finish. There's going to be golf on the entire day, and those are the days I do love. Especially Saturday, Sunday. My wife will be out of town, so I'll be in the house during, on the East Coast here. We're in the midst of the biggest heat wave we've seen in some time. So I'll be inside in the air conditioning with golf on my television from the time I get up in the morning to the time I go to bed. So very excited about that. But through anything I said about that event there, Jake, is there any inspiration for you of any magnitude?
I mean, I think you have a really well balanced lineup. I was following you as you're going through, and I really like some of those plays there, especially the long shot there. Just again, like 2 top 10 finishes in her last 3, super accurate off the tee. If you don't need distance, she could really play out to win at 66 to 1. So I do like your card there. I probably am going to tail most of it. But yeah, I mean, unless Tom Kim's in contention, then I'll see you at the Travelers on Sunday because I'll make the trip up with you if he's there.
All right. If
Um,
Tom gives a contention, we're going to be there on Sunday. Uh, but yeah, again, I'll probably end up there Thursday. I keep saying I probably won't, but I have no discipline, so I'll probably end up there. I wish I could make it Friday to meet up with you, but we have the Ryder Cup next year. Bethpage will
yep.
definitely be there together. So if we don't meet before then, in person at least, we can do that. So I guess Jake, one more time before we can sign off here, where people find you on social media.
Yep, you can find me at DJ Freeman on Twitter. You can see my article for this week's Travelers Championship. You could also meet up with me in person on Friday if you are there. Um, DFS selections, outright plays are going to be in the article, as well as a link to join our Discord. You could also find that link in the description of the podcast. But join the Discord, 200 plus members, a lot of good information on DFS, outrights, golf in general, anything that you can imagine, golf or even just sport related, completely free to join. I highly recommend you do so.
Yeah, definitely a place to be. Free outlet, just can't say it enough, right? It's just free, and there's 200 people in there for a reason. We love to talk golf, love to talk golf betting, love to debate with each other. Just a great place to be. So make sure you join us there. If you need to find a way to join that, just let us know. Be sure to follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKF Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media. Visit WeKnowFantasy.com for some more fantasy sports content. Also, if you do find Jake at the Travelers Championship, you DM me a picture of you him together, I will send you money to go to the pro shop as well. So added incentive there. But yeah, until next time, guys, we'll see you.